that they like the sex enough to stay, you know, because that's what women do. Is they're like, well, nobody waits, so I better have sex with them so I can keep them. You know what I mean? And then what happens a lot of times is they'll bounce. The guy will have sex and then he'll get cold feet. I think that is what makes women afraid of trying this, because they think the biological clock is ticking. I got to find somebody. And then, but here's the deal. That's fear, right? It's not. And where does fear come from? Fear doesn't come from God. Fear always comes from the enemy. So he tries to get you afraid, so you do something that prevents you from getting the thing that God wants to give you anyway. You know, so yeah, I do think that it's probably harder from that respect. I don't think it's harder for women to wait in general, because I think that men, we're physically freaking eked up. You know what I mean? Like, we like sex, and we can have sex pretty easily, you know, unemotional sex, even pretty much on the spot, you know, anytime. So I think it's hard for a man to wait. Not to mention that society tells men that, you know, you have to be sexually active. You know, like, if you're a man, in order to be validated as a man, you have to be sexually active. So I think it's hard for men, especially if they don't have a healthy ego, you know, then it's easy to, you know, let society push you around and kind of tell you what's cool and what's not. So I think it's hard for a man, but I do think it's hard for a woman because of that fear. And you know, but again, I go back to, what's the alternative? You know, not waiting, you know, giving it out to somebody that you don't really know if they love you. You know what I mean? Hoping that they like the sex enough to stay, you know, because that's what women do. Is they're like, well, nobody waits, so I better have sex with them so I can keep them. You know what I mean? And then what happens a lot of times is they'll bounce. The guy will have sex and then he'll get cold feet. You know, and this happens to women a lot, is after they give them the sex, the guy gets distant, you know. And then, or the second thing, which I think is even worse, will happen is they'll get the guy, but they'll get a guy that's 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And instead of getting the love of their life, they'll get somebody that can never make them happy, that can never satisfy them deeply. You know what I mean? And they can't satisfy that person deeply because they're not in love. Because if they were in love, they would have just got married. You know what I mean? Then have all the sex. That's what I tell people. Have all the sex. Get married and have it all. You know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it all. You know, there won't be none left for you. I'm kidding. But seriously, you know, once you know that you're in love, get married and have all the sex. There's nothing wrong with sex. I'm just saying, don't do it ass backward.
Thank you so much for watching my video on YouTube. I wanted to take a moment here at the end to tell you about something that is not only important to me, it's important to the world. Recently, I wrote a book entitled Why Waiting Works: How Fast Sex Prevents Us from Finding True Love and Long-Term Happiness. It has an average 5-star review on Amazon, and it's written so practically that even readers that didn't agree with my stance on waiting have told me it caused them to reevaluate their lives. So if you or anyone you know is single, or if you or anyone you know is in a physical relationship and not married, I am imploring you to pick up a copy of my book. It literally will take you a maximum of 4 hours to read it, and has the potential to change the course of your life. It's one thing to do something that you don't completely understand. It's a whole different thing to do something when you know exactly why you're doing it. And that's what my book is really doing for people. So I just want to thank you in advance. Again, this is something that's important to me, but it's even more important for the rest of the world. And I could really use your help to get the message out. Thank you.